Hey everyone, quick thing before we dive in. I was looking at my analytics and it turns out most of the people watching aren't actually subscribed. See this? Way more views than subscribers. If you're enjoying the videos and want to see more, hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow and you'll never miss new uploads. Alright, let's get into it.
The black sand shifts beneath my feet, each step creating a sound like whispered secrets. As I approach the Iron Mountains, the environment grows increasingly hostile. The air becomes hot and thick with metallic particles that coat my throat and lungs. Lightning strikes the peaks continuously, never pausing, the electricity arcing between the mountains to create a cage of light and energy. This is Virail's domain, the Forge, as the absorbed memories name it, where weapons and warriors are tempered through relentless trials. I pause to examine the sand more carefully. It's not sand at all, but fine metal filings, residue from countless forged weapons. When I crouch to touch it, the particles cling to my fingers, arranging themselves in patterns that mimic the blue-black lines on my skin before falling away. Even the ground here is attuned to bloodlines. In the distance, smaller figures move between the lightning strikes, workers or lesser demons tending to tasks I can't make out from here. The absorbed memories offer fragments of information. Forgelings, entities created by Virail to maintain his domain, neither fully alive nor completely mechanical. I've been walking for an hour when I hear something behind me, a shuffling sound, too deliberate to be the wind. I turn, the morph blade ready. Don't, please. The figure that emerges from behind a dune of metal filings is humanoid, but twisted. Its limbs are disproportionate, skin mottled with patches of metal that seem to have been grafted onto flesh. One arm ends in what appears to be a blacksmith's hammer, fused directly to the bone. "Who are you?" I demand, not lowering the morph blade. "Krev!" the figure rasps. "I was like you." Candidate failed. It moves closer, and I can see now that its eyes hold remnants of humanity, fear, recognition, desperation. "You're new, fresh, strong. What happened to you?" I ask, though the absorbed memories are already providing answers. Those who failed the trials but survive are bound to the circle they failed in, transformed into servants. "Couldn't pass Virail's test." Krev gestures toward the mountains with his hammer hand. "Chose wrong." I study him more carefully. Despite the mutations, there's something in his features that seems vaguely familiar, a resemblance I can't quite place. "Are we related?" Krev's laugh is a grinding of metal. "All candidates related. Different mothers, same father." He taps his chest, where faint blue-black lines can still be seen beneath the metal growths. "Blood recognizes blood." "How many candidates are there?" I ask. "Many, hundreds, thousands, over centuries." Krev shuffles closer. "Most die, some bound, few pass." He stares at me with those two human eyes. "You, stronger than most, might survive." I intend to do more than survive, I say, but I feel a chill that has nothing to do with the environment. How many half-siblings have walked this path before me? How many failed and ended up like Krev? "Can help," Krev says suddenly. "No, secrets, paths, warnings." He extends his non-hammer hand, palm up. "For price?" I hesitate. "What price?" "Take with you. When pass, free me from Forge." His voice becomes more urgent. "Escape second circle." Before I can answer, the ground beneath us trembles. Krev's head snaps up, eyes wide with fear. "Sentinel," he hisses. "Hide, watch, learn." He scuttles away with surprising speed, disappearing behind a dune of metal filings. The trembling intensifies, regular, rhythmic, like footsteps, massive ones. I move quickly to a nearby outcropping of black stone, pressing myself against it as the vibrations grow stronger. Over the nearest ridge comes a figure so large, it momentarily blocks the lightning-filled sky. Humanoid, but impossibly broad, with skin that appears to be made of the same raw iron as the mountains. Each step leaves a crater in the black metal sand. Steam pours from vents in its shoulders and back. Its head is a featureless helmet with a single vertical slit where eyes should be. one of Viral's sentinels. The absorbed memories warn me of their purpose: to test approaching challengers, to destroy those too weak to face the circle's true master. I ready the morph blade as the sentinel scans the area. It hasn't spotted me yet, but it moves with purpose, as if searching. The ground shakes with each step. It carries no visible weapon, but its fists are larger than my entire body. Running isn't an option. These things never tire, never stop. The only way past is through. I center myself, accessing the combat knowledge I've absorbed. The morph blade responds, transforming from its basic configuration into something more specialized. The blade splitting and rejoining in a pattern that resembles a Chinese hook sword, but with mechanisms that allow the segments to separate and retract. I step out from behind the outcropping, deliberately making noise. The sentinel's helmet swivels toward me, the single slit flaring with red light. It charges immediately, moving with surprising speed for something so massive. The ground shakes more violently as it approaches. I wait until the last possible moment before sidestepping, the morph blade extending to slice along its arm as it passes. The blade sparks against the iron skin, but leaves only a shallow scratch. Tougher than it looks. This won't be easy. The sentinel pivots with that same surprising agility, swinging its other arm in a wide arc. Instead of dodging again, I leap upward, using the momentum of its swing to carry me onto its arm. The morph blade shifts again, the tip splitting into 3 prongs that I drive into a seam in the sentinel's armor. It roars, a sound like metal tearing, and tries to grab me with its other hand. I run up its arm toward the shoulder vents, where the absorbed memories tell me these constructs are most vulnerable. The morph blade pulses, as if sensing my intent, and reconfigures once more, becoming thinner and more pointed. I plunge it into the largest vent just as the sentinel's hand closes around my legs. Pain explodes through my body as it squeezes, but I push the morph blade deeper, twisting it into the mechanism beneath the armor. Something ruptures inside the sentinel. Steam erupts from every vent, and its grip loosens enough for me to pull free. I fall, landing hard on the metal filings as the construct staggers backward, internal components failing catastrophically. It collapses with a ground-shaking impact, its featureless head turning toward me one last time before the light behind its visor fades. The body begins to dissolve, iron skin flaking away to reveal a crystalline core. Another soul ember, this one larger and pulsing with a more intense light than the others I've collected. I approach cautiously and claim the crystal. When I absorb it, the rush is more powerful than before. New memories flood in, battle techniques specifically designed to combat Viral's constructs, knowledge of the forge's layout, warnings about what awaits deeper in the second circle. The blue-black lines on my skin respond, spreading further up my neck and onto my jawline. Each new ember accelerates the transformation, bringing me closer to my true nature. I examine my reflection in a polished section of the fallen sentinel's armor. My eyes now have a metallic sheen, and when I open my mouth, my canines are noticeably sharper. Am I becoming a monster? Or am I simply becoming what I was always meant to be? The thought doesn't frighten me as much as it should, and that in itself is unsettling. "Impressive," says Krev, emerging from his hiding place. "Most candidates die. First sentinel." "You said you know secrets," I reply, still studying my changing reflection. "Tell me about Viral. What should I expect?" Krev moves closer, his metal-grafted body creaking. Viral values strength, but not just physical. He taps the side of his misshapen head. Wisdom, choice, will. What happened when you faced him? Failed Viral's test, Krev says, his hammer hand twitching. Each candidate, different test, based on nature, weakness. So you don't know what I'll face? Krev shakes his head. No, way to prepare. That's the point. From behind us comes another tremor, different from the sentinel's footsteps. A shockwave ripples through the metal filings, sending them swirling into the air in intricate patterns before settling back down. More coming, Krev says urgently. Bigger, stronger, sentinel, pack, hunt together. How far to the mountain entrance? I ask. 2 hours, if fast. He points toward the largest peak. Door there. need, blood, pain, to enter. Show me, I say, making a decision. And if I pass Virail's test, I'll take you with me. Kreb's eyes widen with something like hope. Promise? Blood oath? I promise, I say. No blood oath needed. We're family after all. He studies me, then nods. Follow. Stay close. We move swiftly across the landscape, Krev leading me through paths that seem to shift and change as we traverse them. He explains that the forge is constantly remaking itself, but certain routes remain stable for those who know how to read the patterns in the metal filings. The shockwaves grow more frequent as we travel, signaling the approach of more sentinels. Twice we hide as pairs of the massive constructs pass by, their movements coordinated, hunting patterns more sophisticated than the lone sentinel I defeated. Adaptable, Krev explains in his broken speech. Learn from failures. Each sentinel falls, others become smarter. During one of our brief rests, I notice Krev watching me with an unsettling intensity. What? I ask. Changing fast, he says, pointing to the blue-black lines that now cover much of my visible skin. Faster than normal. Strong blood. Is that bad? He shrugs, metal plates grinding against each other. Depends, change too fast, lose self, human memories, human feelings, become cold, demon. I think about this. Already I can feel a distance from my human life. The emotions and attachments that defined me there seem increasingly remote, like a story I once read rather than experiences I lived through. Yet I don't want to lose myself entirely. Whatever I become, I want it to be my choice, not simply the result of bloodline awakening. How do I control it, I ask? The transformation. Balance, Crave says simply. Remember, human half, value it, choose which parts, keep, which discard. We continue on, encountering 2 more sentinel patrols that we manage to avoid thanks to Krev's knowledge of their patterns. The mountains loom closer, lightning strikes becoming more intense, the air so thick with metal particles that each breath feels like inhaling razors. After nearly 2 hours of travel, we reach the base of the largest peak. Here, the metal filings give way to solid ground, black stone veined with molten metal that pulsates like a heartbeat. The heat is nearly unbearable, waves of it distorting the air. Set into the mountain is a massive door, twice my height, made of what appears to be a single piece of dark iron. Runes glow along its surface, script that shifts and changes as I watch. Forge entrance, Krev says. Inner sanctum, Virail's domain. I approach the door. Now I can see that there's no handle, no lock, just a handprint carved into the center of the door, sized for a much larger being than myself. Blood, test, Krev explains. Pain, test, courage, test. The door bears an inscription in demonic script that I can somehow read, the knowledge coming from the absorbed soul embers. It translates roughly to, through pain, transcendence. Below it is the handprint, easily twice the size of my own. I place my hand in it anyway. The metal is burning hot, searing my flesh, but I don't pull away. Pain is the key here. Virail's domain demands sacrifice. For several agonizing seconds, nothing happens. Then the metal beneath my palm liquefies, flowing up and around my hand, encasing it in molten iron. The pain is excruciating, beyond anything I've experienced. I grit my teeth, refusing to scream as the liquid metal probes deeper, seeking blood, seeking essence. Then, just as suddenly as it began, the metal withdraws, solidifying once more. The door recognizes my bloodline despite the size difference. It swings inward, revealing a vast cavern illuminated by rivers of molten metal flowing through channels in the floor. The air is almost unbreathably hot, thick with fumes that would kill a human in minutes. But I'm no longer human enough for it to matter. Cannot follow further, Krev says, staying back from the threshold. Bound, cannot enter, unless called by Virail. Wait here, I tell him. If I succeed, I'll come back for you. He nods, a flicker of that human hope in his eyes. Be careful. I step through the doorway into Virail's inner sanctum. The door swings closed behind me with a finality that sends a shiver through me, despite the overwhelming heat. The cavern stretches for miles, filled with massive forges and anvils. Entities of living metal work tirelessly, hammering at glowing ingots, quenching blades in pools of something that moves like water, but gleams like mercury. Unlike Krev, these beings show no signs of once being human. They're pure constructs, extensions of Virel's will, rather than failed candidates. None of them pay me any attention as I make my way deeper into the cavern, following a path of black stone that winds between the rivers of molten metal. The heat grows more intense with each step, the air shimmering, the blue-black lines on my skin pulsing in response to the environment. I pass other candidates, or what remains of them. Some are half melted into the stone floor, expressions of agony frozen on their faces. Others have been transformed into statues of various metals, posed in positions of combat or supplication. Warnings or art, it's hard to tell. At the center of the cavern, suspended above the largest pool of molten metal, is a platform accessible only by a narrow bridge with no railings. The bridge appears to be made of the same black stone as the path, but as I approach, I can see that it's actually thousands of interlocking metal scales that shift and move like a living thing. I take a tentative step onto the bridge. The scales beneath my foot flatten and lock together, providing stable footing, but the sections ahead and behind ripple and undulate, making it clear that I must focus on each step individually. One wrong move and the scales will collapse, dropping me into the molten metal below. This is the bridge test, not merely crossing a static structure, but navigating a living pathway that responds to intent, focus, and will. Krev had prepared me for this part. I center myself and begin crossing, placing each foot deliberately, mind focused only on the next step. The blue-black lines on my skin pulse with each movement, somehow helping me anticipate the bridge's reactions. Halfway across, the challenge intensifies. The scales begin to form shapes, blades that rise up to block my path, hooks that try to snag my feet, sections that suddenly drop away only to reappear when I refuse to falter. It's not just testing my balance, but my resolve, my willingness to continue despite increasing danger. By the time I reach the far end, I'm sweating not just from the heat, but from the mental exertion of maintaining absolute focus for so long. The bridge has left shallow cuts on my legs and arms, where the blades form too quickly for me to fully avoid them, but I've made it. On the platform stands a figure, its body a perfect fusion of flesh and metal. This can only be Virel himself. Unlike Makaris, who retained a mostly human appearance, Virel has embraced his demonic nature completely. His upper body resembles an idealized human form cast in bronze, but where a human would have skin, he has interlocking plates that shift and adjust with each movement. His lower body is powerful legs covered in the same bronze plates, ending in feet that appear to hover just above the platform's surface, sustained by heat currents rising from the molten pool below. His face is handsome in a brutally angular way, but his eyes are furnaces, literal flames visible behind metal lids. A crown of spikes emerges from his forehead, forming a crest that flares with each shift of expression. He's working at an anvil, hammering a piece of metal that glows white-hot. Each strike sends showers of sparks across the platform. He doesn't look up as I approach. "You smell of Makaris' labyrinth," he says, his voice a rumble that vibrates the platform beneath my feet. Few pass her test of mind to reach my test of body. "I'm here for the trial," I say, stepping closer. Now he looks up, those furnace eyes assessing me. "Yes, I see the blood awakening in you, strong, vibrant." He sets down his hammer, a weapon larger than my entire body, and lifts the piece he's been working on. "Do you know what this is?" I look at the glowing metal. It's taking the shape of a sword, but unlike any I've seen before. The blade is segmented, each section engraved with runes that pulse with power. The hilt is designed to fit a hand much larger than mine, wrapped in what appears to be leather, but moves subtly, as if alive. "No," I admit. "It will be your death or your passage," he says simply. "Once it's complete." He returns to hammering, each blow sending pain resonating through my skull. I wait, sensing that interrupting his work would be seen as disrespect. As he works, I study him more carefully. Despite his imposing presence, there's something almost methodical, even meditative about his movements. Unlike Makaris's calculated aloofness, Virael radiates intensity and focus. This is a being who has perfected his craft over eons, for whom the act of creation is both purpose and pleasure. "You met Krev," he says suddenly, not looking up from his work. "The failure." I tense, wondering if I've inadvertently betrayed my half-sibling. "Yes. He showed me the path here." Viral nods. He does this for all candidates, seeks redemption perhaps, or simply company in his misery. The furnace eyes flick up to meet mine. "Did he warn you about my test?" "He did." "And did you believe him?" I consider my answer carefully. I believe that he believed it. Whether his experience applies to me remains to be seen. This draws something like a smile from Virael, the metal plates of his face shifting to reveal teeth made of a darker metal than his skin. Wise. Each candidate is tested according to their nature. Kreb's trial was choice. Yours? He trails off, returning to his work. Finally, he plunges the completed sword into the pool of molten metal below the platform. Steam erupts in a massive cloud that temporarily obscures everything. When it clears, he's holding the finished weapon, a sword that gleams with its own inner light. The runes along the blade now clearly visible. The leather-wrapped hilt no longer moving, but settled into a shape designed for optimal grip. "The trial is simple," Viral says, setting the sword on the anvil between us. "Claim this blade. Wield it without being consumed by it. Do this, and you may proceed to the third circle." I look at the sword, then back at him. "That's all?" For the first time, he smiles, a movement of metal plates that approximates the expression. "That's all. But understand this, little sibling. This weapon is alive. It hungers. It has devoured hundreds of candidates before you. It will test not your skill, but your will." I approach the anvil cautiously, the morph blade still gripped in my right hand. The sword Virael created pulses with a rhythm that mirrors my heartbeat, as if already trying to synchronize with me. "One more thing," Viral says as I reach for the sword. "You must choose. No one can wield two weapon souls simultaneously. Take this blade, and your current one must be relinquished." I hesitate, looking down at the morph blade that has served me so well since I arrived in this realm. It vibrates in my grip, as if sensing its potential replacement. I can feel its anxiety, its desire to remain with me. The sword on the anvil calls to me as well. I can sense its power, greater than the morph blade, designed specifically for someone of my bloodline. With it, I would be stronger, more capable of facing whatever challenges await in the deeper circles. But at what cost? "Choose," Viral repeats. I think of the morph blade, how it has adapted to my needs, become an extension of my will rather than imposing its own. And I think about what I want from this journey. Is it merely power, or is it understanding, perhaps even mastery of my dual nature? The morph blade has become an extension of myself, responsive to my thoughts, adaptable to any situation. But I can sense the power in Viral's creation. It's on another level entirely, forged specifically for someone of my bloodline. I make my decision. "No," I say, stepping back from the anvil. "I keep what's already mine." Viral's furnace eyes flare brighter. For a moment, I think I've failed the trial by refusing the offered weapon. But then he laughs, a sound like an avalanche of metal scraps. "Loyalty," he says approvingly, "rare among our kind, and wisdom. Your existing bond is strong, unusual for one so newly awakened." He picks up the sword he created, and in one fluid motion snaps it in half over his knee. Both pieces dissolve into smoke that forms a swirling vortex. "You've passed my test, little sibling. Not through strength of arm, as most attempt, but through strength of will." Relief washes through me, quickly followed by suspicion. That was too easy. Viral's expression becomes serious again. The true test was in reaching me at all. The sentinels, the door, the bridge, these eliminate most candidates. Those who stand before me have already proven their physical prowess. He gestures to the broken weapon. This final choice tests something else, the wisdom to recognize when power offers no true advantage. "And if I had taken the sword," I ask, "then you would have joined the others." He gestures to the statues I passed on my way here. Consumed by ambition, transformed into a tool rather than becoming a master. He studies me with those furnace eyes. You are different from most candidates. The human in you remains strong despite the awakening blood. Hold to that balance. It may serve you well in the trials to come. The vortex of smoke expands, forming a doorway similar to the one that brought me from Mikaris's domain. The third circle awaits. Therein dwells Lorelei, who tests neither mind nor body, but spirit. What does that mean? I ask, approaching the portal. It means, Viral says, returning to his anvil, that what awaits will hurt more than anything you've experienced thus far. Physical pain is nothing compared to what Lorelei can inflict. He picks up another piece of glowing metal. A warning freely given, as is my right as the second-born. In Lorelei's realm, trust nothing you see, nothing you hear, nothing you feel, especially if it brings you joy. Wait, I say, remembering my promise. Krev, the failed candidate. I told him I'd take him with me if I passed. Viral pauses in his work. You would claim him? A failure? A bound one? He helped me. We share blood. Those furnace eyes study me for a long moment. Sentiment. Another human trait. He sighs, a sound like bellows expanding. Very well. By right of conquest and blood, you may claim one bound servant from my domain, but know this. His binding remains. His service transfers from me to you. He is no longer my tool, but yours. I'm not comfortable with the idea of owning another being, but this seems better than leaving Krev trapped in the forge forever. I understand. Viral makes a gesture, and a moment later, Krev appears on the platform, looking disoriented and frightened. His eyes widen when he sees me standing before Viral. You passed? He asks in disbelief. He has, Viral confirms. And he has claimed you, bound one. Your service transfers to him. Go with your new master to the third circle. Krev stares at me, emotions warring on his half-metal face. Hope, gratitude, confusion, and something else I can't quite identify. Ready? I ask him. He nods, moving to stand beside me at the portal. With Viral's ominous warning echoing in my mind, I step into the vortex, Krev following close behind. As before, my body dissolves and reconstructs elsewhere. I emerge into what appears to be my apartment in the human world. Everything is exactly as I remember leaving it. Dishes in the sink, mail piled on the counter, laptop closed on the coffee table. Sunlight streams through the windows. Outside, I can hear traffic and people going about their normal lives. It looks real. It feels real. But Viral's warning rings in my ears. Trust nothing you see, nothing you hear, nothing you feel. This isn't my apartment. This isn't the human world. This is the third circle, Lorelei's domain, the trial of spirit. I grip the morph blade tighter, though it looks out of place in these mundane surroundings. The blue-black lines on my skin pulse, more visible than ever against the normalcy around me. Master, Krev whispers beside me, his form looking even more grotesque and out of place in this setting. This bad place. Dangerous. Hello, I call out, expecting some trick, some trap. In here, responds a voice I know intimately, my mother's voice coming from the kitchen. I freeze. My mother died 3 years ago. Cancer. I watched her fade away in a hospital bed. I scattered her ashes in the lake, where she used to take me swimming as a child. Trust nothing you see, nothing you hear, nothing you feel, especially if it brings you joy. With mounting dread, I move toward the kitchen, the morph blade held ready. The blue-black lines on my skin writhe in warning, sensing the danger even as my heart leaps at the sound of that beloved voice. The third circle has begun its test, and already I can feel it tearing at the very fabric of my soul.